Due to some technical difficulties over the summer with the audio on my camera, I was unable to record some intros, so I'm going to try it as a voiceover on this round. This is me climbing Mount Fernow, starting from the Phelps Creek trailhead. So if you're interested in climbing this route, you'll probably notice that instead of going through Leroy Basin and up the waterfall, I chose to follow the Carn Mountain high route and then traverse across the face of Seven Finger Jack. However, as you can probably tell from the video, it is covered heavily in choss and scree, and unless you're climbing both Seven Finger and Fernow in the same trip, I would highly suggest just going through Leroy Basin and up the waterfall. It's far easier. This section where you descend down into the basin between Seven Finger and Mount Fernow makes me think that early season is probably best. You are able to go towards the lake and then around and down into the basin. However, with the snow there, it was far easier just to put on some crampons and an ice axe and then descend down into the basin where you can start your way up Fernow. All I used was just some easy strap-on crampons that were able to fit over the top of my running shoes, so if the temperature is decent, there's probably nothing serious involved other than basic ice axe usage and knowing how to put some crampons on. Basin and start to ascend Fernow, I would put the rock at around a class 2 to 3. There's exposure in some spots, but there isn't anything that felt overly serious. There's really good handholds, there is a lot of loose rock, so it's good to pay attention, but at the same time, I think for most experienced people in Washington's backcountry, it should be something fairly straightforward to handle. 250 feet of Mount Fernow is where I felt like the scrambling gets quite a bit more serious. There's a couple of small ledges that are well cairned, so it's easy to know where to go, but the exposure off of Climber's Right is pretty extreme, or at least it feels that way once you're up there. The actual summit scramble, the final maybe 150 feet or so, is a lot of rock that slopes down towards that exposure, and so some of the areas where there's really loose rock felt extremely committing, and for some people I would imagine that it might be kind of unnerving.